All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have another update on the DDG Haley Bailey um, fiasco that's going on. And one of the things I want to kind of preface is that the celebrity world gives you a lot of lessons for your common man that you can learn from. And, one of the things that we talked about in the last one was, basically how DDG and Haley Bailey's relationship is a very common relationship in, the Western world, particularly in the United States of America. And that's why we have to kind of like look at these things from an angle of how does it relate to everyday people. And I'm not talking about, the song that came out back in the day in the 90s, if you know, with Arrested Development. Well, this is a bit of an Arrested Development when you see the immaturity of Haley Bailey, but we have to understand this. And I think that a lot of men have a hard time understanding this because when you're socialized in a society where from the time you're a child, you are basically told that your female counterpart is your equal. And in many ways, they even made you believe that she was your superior. You grew up in a home, if you did not have a strong father figure that really set the tone of him being the dominant person in the house over your mother, and you grew up in a house where the woman, your mother, had to say so, or you didn't grow up with the father present in the home, then it will be a lot harder for you to overcome these type of built-in biases because they believe that we're biased because we are talking about how a man is different from a woman, but this is all just facts. And there's so many ways to prove this, it's not even funny, right? So we're not going to go back and forth with those that are dumb or playing dumb as if they don't know what we're talking about. Because it's even bigger than a man just being stronger than a woman. That's one of the biggest talking points, or the only ones that even men in the manosphere, so-called red pillars, they just bring up strength of a man, but they don't bring up the emotional and mental toughness of a man and a man's insight, ingenuity, his intellect, okay, and his willpower, meaning his desire to get certain things accomplished, and his beliefs, which goes into his faith and his willingness to die for his beliefs at a higher level than a woman would. Okay, not that women are incapable of dying for beliefs, but men are definitely set up at a higher level to do so. And not only that, they're willing to die for friend, family, and country as well. Now, getting into the Haley Bailey behavior and the situation, as you see, if you go on social media, you'll realize that there's text messages that have been revealed between him, DDG, and Haley Bailey, in which she was making threats of taking her own life. And there was a lot of erratic behavior and text going back and forth. He even said in there that she had taken hold of his firearm. And as a man, your number one priority when you have a child is to do everything you can to protect that child. And if that means that you have to protect your child from an unstable mother, then you have to go that far. And I like what he's doing. This is highly recommended. See, if I had his bag, I would definitely, if a woman's moving like this and she was the mother of my children, I'm going to put a restraining order on her. I'm going to have said that she's a health risk, that she has mental instability issues. I'd want her to get psychologically evaluated. And I'm going to show proof of her erratic behavior. Okay? Because one thing you got to understand about the modern woman who has a lot of emotional instability due to her being raised up in entitlement, her having a god complex or a goddess complex, which is also known as being a diva, because that's what diva means. It's Latin for goddess. They will do anything it takes to make themselves both the hero and the victim in their own story. And they're willing to use the number one tool in that is your child. Okay? And this is how they weaponize your child against you to make themselves both the victim and the hero in their own story. And people will feel some type of way about DDG putting out this order, this court order to restrain her from being able to take the child overseas to Italy. And he would not be able to see his child for months. And then she's going to also have that child around strangers because she's not going to be always around a child. She's going to be going and partying up, probably sleeping around with some, you know, some poor, you know, drunk Italian men. And then also she's going to be leaving the child with, I believe, you know, probably some kind of assistance. You know, these are the type of behavior that women just do when they don't care about the child and they care about only themselves and how they fit in their own story. And leads these children to be in danger, you know, because of the fact that they got an unstable mother. And DDG is every well within his right to do this thing. In fact, it was also stated that she attempted to delete the baby as well. Okay. And it didn't happen. I believe she went to the doctor to find out if the pill that she took was going to harm the child. And it found out that it wouldn't happen. And the baby would be able to survive. Their child's name, I believe, is Halo. And you see here that this is what some men, okay, common men, not, you know, of course you got celebrities, they got a different level of bread. But your common man doesn't have this. But some men are going to have to go this far, especially when you see erratic behavior from your child's mother. And I always say this before, if you have a child with a woman in 2025, in the Gregorian year of 2025, and you think that she's going to stick around, you better prepare your mind mentally that she may leave. Because that's what the majority of women here are doing these days. They're just leaving. It's not something that you're doing wrong. You could be leveling up, making money. You could be getting in better shape. You could be, you know, making yourself better internally as a man, spiritually developing. You could be emotionally developing, getting stronger mentally, intellectually. Yet these women can still pull a fast one because they move according to their own emotions. And like I told y'all before, a woman's moral compass is her emotions. It is based on how she feels at that moment. And there's really nothing you can do about it because there's so many things that can trigger her to change her emotions. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with in the social media age where a woman can probably come across a reel, a meme, a tweet, a TikTok reel, a Facebook post, any one of those things can change the mind of a weak woman. You know what I'm saying? And this is the thing is that you have to look at the motive as to why did she get with DDG. When you examine really, and like I said, you know, I don't really care for these people as like what they do or streamers or athletes or entertainers. Remember that you're looking at this from a social perspective. This is a social dynamic study when it comes to the relationship between men and women. Now, DDG is a big time streamer. You know, he's one of the original, you know, big black streamers out there. You know, you have other ones as well. And like I said, even me who doesn't even try and follow these streamers, I was running across these guys' stuff back in the day, even when I wasn't even looking for them. So I knew who DDG was, just because his stuff was popping up sometimes here and there back in the day. But I never really subscribed to his stuff. I don't follow him. But I do know this, is that at one point he did end up dating Ruby Rose. And Ruby Rose is considered one of the more better looking Instagram model slash influencer slash, you know, sometime rapper. And she even said, and I believe I might have said it in the last one, that her best relationship that she ever had with a man was DDG. And she was clearly trying to get DDG back as well. But, you know, we don't know why they broke up or, you know, why he wouldn't want to take her back. but he decided not to pursue that. But we do know this is that a lot of times, and remember that Haley has a sister, Chloe, and Chloe is considered the prettier of the two. In fact, both in face and in body. Okay. So she has a disadvantage just in comparison to her sister. And sometimes women will look at your exes and see how pretty they are, and they may desire for you to be with them to validate them. Because in their mind, and this is what women do, in their mind, they'll say, if you were with Ruby Rose and Ruby Rose is pretty and you're willing to be with me, I feel pretty too. Because women do a lot of comparison. Like I always tell you, that women are very much motivated by envy. Envy is a big motivator for a lot of women, especially for the mentally and emotionally unstable woman. Okay, they will be motivated more by envy than anything. Okay, a healthy woman that grew up with a safe, healthy environment. You know what I'm saying? Proper feminine upbringing from her mother and masculine upbringing from her father, and she has a healthy mind, she's not going to be as motivated by envy and comparison of her with another woman. Okay? So that could be it as well. Another thing is that when you go through the situation is that she went through postpartum depression, which you have to be very careful with this because women are using what they call postpartum depression or PPD as a way to excuse their mistreatment of their child's father. And a lot of women are leaning into that these days. Rather than controlling their own emotions, they'll lean into the postpartum depression and act erratic and do certain things and then blame it on their emotional state. And a lot of these women, they co-sign this. Okay, they co-sign this. And we have to understand that there's certain things that you have to take into consideration when it comes to a woman experiencing postpartum depression. What was her mental state when you when you began your relationship with her, as your relationship progressed, and leading into her pregnancy and during the pregnancy? That could influence how bad her PPD gets. Another thing is, the Bible even talks about how long, a couple should get together and lay with one another, sexually after they have a child. And sometimes, and because you're in a country where you don't learn these things unless you read the Bible and you believe it, you have to understand that a woman's hormonal balance is off kilter when she's gone through this roller coaster of getting in a relationship with you, quote unquote, falling in love, getting pregnant, going through the pregnancy stage. This is her first child as well. And then delivering the baby and also the post pregnancy part, right? Postpartum. There's a lot of hormonal situations going on. So you do have to have some sensitivity and some empathy for your woman, your child's mother, whenever she's going through that. But you do not excuse being abused by that woman. Okay? So you have to take that into consideration, okay, as well, because that's something that is not to be taken lightly because these women will take it to the uttermost and try and use that to destroy your life. And now we're seeing that DDG has a more than enough evidence, and I believe that, see, one thing about DDG, he understands how the game is. He's seeing what's going on with men out here. He's seeing what's going on with these other celebrities. He's seeing how you can get condemned in the court of public opinion, and if you do not at least back yourself up with your own evidence, you will be, ostracized. You will be taken to the city center, and you'll be stoned by these rabid people out here in this society. And what I mean by stoned, meaning you'll be stoned with, the ridicule of the various posts and social media blitzing that you would get from the masses, right? Right? That will talk down on you and make you the villain. So we have to understand exactly how these type of things operate. Now, I'm glad that he's done the right thing by fighting back. One thing that you have to understand as a man, whether you're famous or whether you're a commoner, one of the most precious things that you have is your own name, your reputation. And you have every right to fight to keep that name solid, regardless of what people say. I don't give a dang if it's your own mama talking against you. You protect your name, okay? And you make sure you stand up for yourself, because if anybody gonna stand up for you, it's you. You the number one person. You got to be a number one defense attorney, okay? You have to be your number one defense attorney. You got to be your own Johnny Cochran first. Then you get other people to back your situation up, which he's doing with the lawyers, which he's doing with friends that were there, that are witnesses to some of these situations, which he actually has video of some of these situations where she was acting erratic and he had other people present. His followers on his streams was watching it go down, was seeing him having these side conversations with an erratic Haley Bailey, right? Friend in the room, in the streaming room, also witnessing that stuff. So he's positioning himself to win on this situation. Another thing is that in regards to DDG's situation, right? He has um, an angle of trajectory that he can go to on to the next level, right? And allegedly, according to him, he had his biggest, month as a influencer, as a streamer. You know what I'm saying? His last month was his biggest ever. So he's found the way to hone in on his purpose to do what he does best, right? And to set up a future, which we know the future is bleak. If World War III and all kind of things, global economic collapse could be upon us in the near future. So he's doing it. You could say that it's vanity, or it might be an exercise in futility, but he's doing what he is today while it's today and taking hold of what he is, feels like he's meant to do. Rumor has it, transitioning, that, India Love, a woman who's been connected to a lot of celebrities, particularly rappers, starting with the game. That's a whole game, the rapper. That's a whole other situation. If you look into that, there's certain things I talk about with people, and they don't understand exactly like how certain things transpire when it comes to like women and their desire to be connected with, men and certain men at when they reach a certain age in life or reach a certain transition in life, especially as they reach certain ages of maturity. Now, she's getting to the point where I think she sees, now I don't know how old she is, but I know she's getting up there. She's definitely past 25 because she's been around for a minute. But she might see, actually is considering an opportunity potentially to probably be with DDG. I don't know how far that's going, but it appears they did make a connection. And DDG is touching money. DDG is also single. And DDG is a very, very good streamer. And one of the things that these female streamers are doing, and if you've seen the whole Streamer University with Kai Sanat, he added female streamers after they were upset. People were upset that he didn't have any because he had all these guy streamers. And I like the fact that Kai Sanat dealt with the men first, okay? Because men don't have the same ability to really make money in the social media world as women do, especially beautiful women. Beautiful women they have like a red carpet. They have like a freaking an express lane towards a bag in the influencer world, like major. And And it's crazy because when you look at certain situations, and I could think about certain things. I might even have another video on that later about how timing and generation benefits different types of demographics of people. And it probably would be smart for her to probably beeline too. I'm speaking from of angle of a woman who's trying to get a man when she's probably running her last opportunity to probably secure a certain type of dude. Um, and it might be a situation where they could probably make it work. And let me tell you the reason why India Love is actually given play to DDG is because he already confirmed his ability to pull a baddie. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like that song. Man, I ain't never been with a baddie. You know what I'm saying? Get the medicine, they call him an addy. You know what I'm saying? So he already been with a baddie. So he already got social proof. He got the social proof that he's able to pull a woman around the same level as the India Love. Now, people probably have their own taste of whether or not they prefer the looks of Ruby Rose or India Love. It's personal preference for whoever, whatever they think. But among the woman to woman, they compare each other and they kind of have an idea of what level that they're competing on and who's on their level and who's probably above them or below them. Women are very much aware, okay? And there's some women that carry themselves higher than their looks, and their confidence gives them that aura that they're actually better than maybe another chick that's actually better looking than them. And I could probably talk about that as well because we're dealing with some social dynamics and of this, and this is kind of my forte a bit because I did study sociology in college, and I also, even as a kid, was always a big social observer, watched a lot of documentaries, read a lot of books, read encyclopedias. Even as a kid, I had discussion with adults, especially like my father and my uncles. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that I always think about when it comes to social dynamics. And as you get older, and especially as you gain spiritual insight, you begin to see things a lot clearer in a much not only specific but even on a broader spectrum. And if from the angle of India Love and her history of being outside and out there, this to me, I think I'm talking for her situation. Like I said, at the end of the day, I do not care about what these people are doing with their lives. This is simply social commentary. So don't feel like I care that much about their lives. I'm saying that it would be smart of her. If she's a smart chick, she should jump at the opportunity to basically try and build something with the DDG. He's a go-getter. He's a hustler. He's shown signs of success. He has a history of being able to pull a baddie who speaks well of him. And he is young, around probably the same age as her. He already got with a girl that was in Hollywood and had a baby with her. That's a notch under his belt. And that's how these women look at it. And she could probably outright get into a long-term relationship. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I was thinking in their mindset, and I remember I'm transposing myself in their mindset. And if I'm speaking as somebody who I'm removing my own personal morals, ideals out of this. I'm speaking as if I'm on the other side and I don't care about anything else, right? If I was her family member, a brother, a cousin, you know what I'm saying? Or a male friend, like maybe like a manager type person that has some influence, you know what I'm saying? Or even a homeboy that came up with her, and I want the best for her, speaking from that angle, not from myself, but from that angle in her circle. I would tell her that she needs to go ahead and that she needs to get with DDG and get up out the game. Because if he's willing to take you seriously and you know you've been with these other rappers and she, a lot of times these women, they kind of deal with only rappers and they don't deal with like athletes and rappers. Sometimes these women like a certain type of guy. She may be better off moving into the power couple social media lane with a DDG and basically build like get into a relationship, let it get serious, do stuff together. And then if y'all actually can go the family route, I don't think anybody's actually ever thought about that, about the family couple route in YouTube, because you have a lot of YouTube couples that have families. I can think about think CJ, I think it's something Pritchett. I forgot his name, but it starts with a C. Pritchett. Yeah, DNB Nation. You have a lot of people that were not even celebrities that literally came in from the bottom, started a YouTube couples channel and blew up big time. But they already got traction in social media. So if they were to get together, it'd be like a social media power couple. Like at least the closest thing to it that you could have in the urban community. And it would probably blow up because India Love and DDG actually do have very likable personalities. They have likable personalities, and I think the reason why, because like they're very good with being able to entertain audiences from a certain perspective. Like what I mean by that is like some women have just looks and they don't have like what you would say is a personality. But India Love, at least from what I've seen on YouTube here and there, and I remember seeing a video, you can look it up, where her doing stuff in the Marathon store, and the way she was carrying herself, she was very engaging, very playful. Not many women actually have that level of beauty to go along with that playfulness sometimes. Now, I think it's because she's actually a true natural. What I mean by that is she's a natural beauty. Now, whether she's had enhancements on top of her beauty, I don't know. But if you look at her sisters are all fine. If you look at her mom when she was younger, her mom and her aunts, all of them were fine. If you look at old pictures. So what I mean by that is she those type of women that grow up in those type of environments, they grow at a level of confidence, and also because they're in that environment, their looks are not overemphasized because every female in their family is good looking. So they develop a level of character and a level of personality. Unlike some of these fake baddies that were just average chicks that went and got work and then they got an ego because they got a BBL, a nose job, and lip fillers. And now they think that they're really a dime when they're really just a manufactured woman. Okay. And I'm going to probably talk about that setup as well, as far as like how, about the fake baddies out here and how they really messed up the game out here, right? In terms of, dating, which I don't really believe in dating, but that's something that we talk about growing up. And so I have to use those type of terms, but that's a whole nother story. So as we see here with DDG, DDG is protecting his name, he's protecting his brand, and he's protecting his son, his legacy. And that's a good thing, and that's what men are going to need to do more and more. They're going to have to be a lot more, aggressive against bad women and be aggressive legally, okay? And do everything you can within your legal power to make your situation more advantageous for yourself. So we're going to continue this on. If there's any other updates on this story that are major, we'll probably get into that another time. So this is Spiritual Art of War. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.